Hello and welcome to another edition of Atomic Mass Transmissions Live. My name is John, and today we are continuing working on our gathering forces. This is the last week that we have, so this is kind of wrapping up all of the best laid plans that we laid out over the month of May and kind of coming to a tail end. So joining me today, I've got Dallas Kemp, and I see no reason why we should not just switch over to miniatures and take a look and see what we're working on this week.
What's up, John?
What's up, Dallas? How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic because I'm painting a little tank.
Heck yeah. That sounds solid. All right, well, I am working on General Grievous. Let me see if I can get him squared up in here.
Hello there.
Hello there. And I had already done a little bit of work on old Grievous in some weeks previous when I had a little bit of extra time. So I decided that I wanted to be a little adventurous and try something new. I've always been a huge fan of the art for trained in your Jedi arts. So I decided to try to make a version of Grievous that kind of looks similar to that, with a bit of a tattered cloak that's still kind of like hanging over his shoulders. He's got all 4 lightsabers out. It's kind of like oh, you've got me on my back foot, but wait, I've got 4 lightsabers.
That's pretty cool.
Going to retaliate. So yeah, this is another one I'm going to try to get done before Monday. So Monday's the 31st, and that's kind of like our big due date to try to get these forces finished. What do you got going on? You got a saber tank, it looks like.
Yeah, I did some airbrushing, some preliminary airbrushing, so I can get right to the brush because airbrushing on stream is loud and complex.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I just took my colors that I used for my clones already and just applied them sort of all over. So I did an off-white, nice cool gray, and then a light blue, then some dark gray, just kind of blocked in some just some zones of color and shape and form, and then I'm just going to brush around it. I'm not going to focus too heavily on like every single panel. I want to kind of go in and just build everything and like do the big picture.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, that's kind of a similar way how I approach tanks too. I think it's just getting a lot of like the initial kind of airbrush work done and a lot of the flat areas, and then going back in and tidying up with some additional paints. Are you going to try to mix in and do like some kind of crazy glazing like you did with the clones, or is it kind of like too large to try to apply that technique, do you think?
No, I think I can still do that technique. A lot of that was done with the airbrush, so I think I can get away with. I know a lot of vehicles, there's lots of different ways to approach vehicles. I've approached it different ways, like we kind of like shade and highlight each panel separately. I'm kind of treating it as like everything is one big panel. In that sense. And I want to focus more on like the details, the scratches, the dings, the weathering, to kind of tie it all together instead of focusing on each individual panel, because this is for table. This is supposed to be table ready, not display ready.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I totally understand the distinction between the two. Well, very cool. Yeah.
Plus, I'm lazy. Like, let's be real.
Well, you also got a ton of stuff you're painting this month, so I can understand you trying to make some strategic plans and trying to get all these things finished.
Yeah, gotta make a plan.
Gotta make a plan going into it. Set your expectations before you get started, right?
Yes.
Yes.
It's all about cheating.
What's that?
No, it's all about cheating. Schick will tell you I'm all about cheating.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think as long as you got a plan in place and you're kind of working towards a solid end. It's about the results, right? That's the big thing.
Yeah. Plus, I was excited to get this black on here because I love the shape of this saber tank and like kind of the theme of my little clone force, the Lucky 13s. They all got little skulls on them here and there, and I was just like, this thing just begs to be painted like a big skull.
Nice. So are you doing like a main like skull kind of like in the central section? Oh, okay. I see what you got going on. Nice.
Yeah.
That is very cool.
I was even thinking about like maybe adding crossbones, like the bones here, but I don't know yet.
It gets a little piratey, I guess, but
it gets a little piratey.
Nothing wrong with that though. Pirates are cool. I like pirates.
But like if you look at my where's he at? Where's my clone? My little clone commander's got his little skull on his chest.
Yeah, I like that guy. He's really cool. Yeah, I think all those little markings and stuff on there just add such a cool dimension to the clones. I think that's like one of my favorite things about doing clone color schemes is you can just be so you can personalize each individual clone, you know, like make them all kind of unique in their own way.
That's my favorite part about watching the Clone Wars. Is like I love the story of the clones where they're like we're all clones, and then like they all like start to become individual characters and like respect their individuality, and like I think that that's such a cool little story.
Yeah, for sure. I like Clone 99 and all the Bad Batch stuff is also really cool. I just like variations on a theme, right? Like where you've got like all these clones are identical. They're all from the same DNA, and they do what they can to try to personalize and eke out some sort of personality.
Yeah.
It's cool that they do that in a lot of cases visually, you know, like through the markings on the armor and haircuts and tattoos and things. Definitely very cool.
There's some cool sociology discussion to have there, but maybe for another stream.
Maybe for another stream. Maybe so.
Looks like I got some glue accidentally, so I'll turn that into damage.
There you go. Happy mistakes, right?
Yeah, sometimes you accidentally get glue on something. You just kind of like roll with it, right?
Yeah. Indeed. So have you done very much research on gameplay yet? Have you been thinking about like tactics now you want to play, or you're just going to get everything on the table and hope for the best?
I'm a get everything on the table, hope for the best kind of guy.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Fly by the seat of my pants.
I usually find like, you know, my best laid plans, whatever I like try to anticipate, it never really works out that way. And I tend to learn the most just by, you know, seeing how the units play out on the tabletop and being reactionary, you know, and adaptive. I think that is there's a better way for me to get the grips with an army, I think.
Yeah, I like getting everything on the table, trying it out, seeing what works, what doesn't work, what works for Dallas, what doesn't work for Dallas. And going from there instead of like coming in with a plan and being like, this is what has to happen. Because I mean, I'm learning a new game here, so I don't know what has to happen. I have no clue. The only thing that has to happen is I have to make sure my opponent has fun.
You have to make sure what? I'm sorry, couldn't hear you.
I have to make sure my opponent has fun and I have fun. Yeah,
that is the most crucial part, right? So I think we're talking about getting a little bit of gameplay in June. I'm in Minnesota. You all are in Everett. I'm sure you guys can easily play some games, but I'll have to get a time scheduled to go out there and we can play some games on stream. That'd be cool. I'm eager to get some battling in. For sure.
Yeah, always fun to get some games in.
All right.
I don't know, should he have teeth at the bottom?
I kind of like that. Like maybe some kind of coming in from the center part of that black. You kind of need like cheekbones too to really get the skull look going on, right?
Yeah, I need to add some cheekbones. And then I think maybe bringing like some black down this panel and this panel and bringing teeth up into that. So I think I'm just going to start blocking some areas out with black and then just shaping and forming around that.
Yeah, just kind of map out your colors. Markings, that makes sense. I'm going to go real heavy on green, I think, on this. Have you ever done green OSL before? I assume you probably have many times.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty common color, right?
My Yoda's got the green.
Oh, yeah, totally. That's awesome. So are you like a big fan of like kind of using like inks and for transparency for all the lighting effects, or do you like to water down standard paints, or what's your typical glowing strategy when you're doing OSL type stuff?
I think it depends on the paints I have available and the paints I'm using. Like,
Oh, sure.
I do like kind of like blocking in with regular opaque paint and like with really light colors. So like for green, I would use like yellows and whites, and then use inks to glaze over it. Like, and then like for like red, I use like pink and purple or pink and magenta
Mm.
to block it in, and then kind of glaze over it with the red because I
Okay.
want because the ink gives you such intense like effect, right? You know, inks are so highly pigmented. Is that how you go about it?
Yeah, pretty similar, I think. I like to use the transparent. I'm with you on the inks. I think they can be like really, really staining, and sometimes it's hard to like thin them down just right. So a lot of times I like to lay down like the initial outer glow with like a standard paint because I can kind of blend that in with the surrounding colors a little bit better.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And then I think you can go back in with some more of the inks to use, like kind of like you mentioned, like as glazing to just kind of like smooth out the layers and get
Yeah,
them to kind of blend in a little bit better together. I think
and then
work
it
better.
increases that punch.
Yeah, a little bit more vibrancy.
And I do that a lot too. Like I'll like if I like the red glow of my lightsabers, like sometimes I'll add red ink to red paint and like so I increase that vibrancy and then block those in and then add pinks or whatever and then use that final pink, regular paint, opaque paint, and then come in with the final end and finish up with a ink to tie it all together and increase the overall intensity. But I'm a sucker for inks. I love inks.
Yeah, they are very cool. And they're pretty varied, like from different manufacturers, like as far as like the pigment count goes and even viscosity. And yeah, there's like a lot of different things to kind of play around with, I think, when it comes to that. A lot of times I use like kind of artist brand inks too, and I have good results with those. A white ink. I use like a white ink, like an opaque white for like a lot of edge highlights, and I really like it. It stays the right consistency, and it's real vibrant. You can kind of mix that in a little bit with other colors, but you got to be kind of careful with it. I don't usually like to mix just straight white in for highlights, but I like to do some other colors. And I know you have some opinions about that, right?
Of what?
Not using white for highlights, like mixing in white on top of a base coat color for layering up highlights and stuff.
I mean, I like to go up to as white as possible. I'm not a fan of like starting to add pure white to colors because white is a desaturator.
Yeah, it makes you lose punch.
So you lose your punch, but you can still finish off the highlight with pure white, like just pure white.
Just do it real sparingly. Yeah.
Yeah, but to get those little tings and ticks, but like I don't, there's no rules in art, right?
No, you're 100% right.
So even when I say I don't do this, I totally do it sometimes, right?
Yeah.
But I usually start most of my highlighting by not starting by adding white or black for shadows because you just lose punch. And we got little tiny characters on a battlefield, and I want you to see them. And if you start using like muddy washes and desaturated colors, you start to lose them on the battlefield. I want you to see my characters. I want them to have gravitas and presence.
Gravitas, yeah, I like that word.
Look, I put a lot of hours painting this. I want you to see it.
Yeah, totally. It makes total sense to me.
I don't want it to look like some muddy mess on the tabletop.
Gravitas. Well, that's the thing too. I think like when you're especially thinking about the distance at which you're going to view these things. I think it ties in a little bit with your discussions about like the destiny of a miniature, right? Where you decide like well, this miniature is going to be looked at from 3 feet away at all times. do I really need to focus on this or that, or do I need to, instead spend more time punching up the contrast so it looks really good from that viewing angle?
Yeah, punch up that contrast.
That's just such a huge part of painting, I think, and something that I've actively been trying to like develop and push a little bit further too, is just trying to work on contrast and making things pop a little bit more.
One of the guys I used to work with, he always just said contrast, 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 contrast. It's just everything. Contrast, contrast, contrast. And as you know, contrast isn't just white and black. It's also hot and cold. It's rough and smooth. It's saturated, desaturated. There's many different types of contrast. So the more those you master and play with, the more unique and personal, more visually interesting, your miniatures will look.
Yeah, I think for me, the contrast that I'm mostly trying to focus on is like value as opposed to color.
Yeah, value.
Like the lightness and darkness of things. Which is kind of like I think what most people think about when they think about contrast is like, how light is something. Like if you took a black and white photograph of that, would it pop?
People, I mean, like a lot of the competition painters will tell you, like, one of the big tricks they do for competition is, you take a picture of the miniature and then put it in grayscale because you want to see where the contrast is and isn't. And then you need to up your value here or here to draw the eye to the appropriate places.
Totally. Yeah, that makes complete sense to me.
Like super, super important to get that contrast. So you can use a black and white photo. I'm not even on camera. I'm so sorry. You can use a black and white photo of your miniature to kind of see where the contrast lies. So that's your value contrast. But then you can start playing with the warm, cold, and the other types, and you can even develop further contrast to make it more visually interesting.
I think that's the thing I like about your clone so much is that you've chosen for this, like, really to go with this really stark white and black scheme, and then you have like these cool little accent colors that are kind of associated with it. And I think it's a really cool take on the clones because you generally see them in largely one color.
Yeah, they're usually just white and black.
Yeah, with like a black undersuit, right? But you've chosen to pick out some of the panels, and I think it adds like a whole cool dimension to each of the individual clone. Like where you can just kind of start to break up them all, and the schemes start to look very personal and
they got like
and stuff.
They got like little spots of blue in the armor, so you got that cold, but then they have like warm brown stain, and then using a warm blue in the black. So now I got a cold blue and a warm blue playing against one another, and then you have those warm colors. Like that's why I chose the brown leather.
Yeah, that's a great color to have in there too, just to kind of break things up.
I got this little magenta glow on some of the dots, but I wish there was more places for that, but I didn't really find more places.
Well, as you expand the forces, I'm sure you can figure out some other applications of that. When you're thinking about a color scheme, do you like put a cap on like number of colors you like to use? Like, do you have any sort of, or is it generally just kind of like viewing it and making decisions as you go?
I definitely paint with jazz.
Okay, cool.
I've done things like I do a lot of like what's the word you want to use? Like I'm going to paint this like this style. I'm going to paint this with these constrictions, right? It's like doing special runs in Dark Souls, right? I'm only going to use the spatula to fight every boss in Dark Souls.
Just as like a challenge to yourself.
Yeah, so it's like a challenge.
Yeah, cool.
But when I'm painting my little armies like this, I'm just going to paint with jazz. I know it's going to be white. Okay, so what philosophical white? Okay, well, I really want to focus on this like cool blue with warm blacks. Okay, cool. And then you kind of just build from there as you kind of develop that test scheme. That's how I do it.
Nice.
What about you?
I try to like put a limitation on like total number of like basic colors that are in a scheme. I usually don't like to go, and I was talking with Michael about this a little bit. Like I usually don't like to go more than like 5 primary things. And I like to have like a lot of contrast. So I like to have something really light and something really dark in value, and then something in the middle that's kind of like a color that kind of pulls them together, and then some kind of spot highlights and accent colors. So I generally try to like stick to that rule, but it's every miniature is a little different. I think that when you look at them, you'll see like little elements that you get inspired to paint some crazy color because you think it's gonna strengthen the overall scheme, I think.
Oh
But
yeah,
generally, I like to go into it with like a bit of a limitation in mind. Is like, okay, well, what can I achieve with like 5 base colors and primary colors? Especially because I think like a lot of times I'm thinking more about painting armies and like cohesiveness between all of the units is an important thing to me. So that's usually how I'm thinking about things, as opposed to individual miniatures. Is like, well, what's the scheme that I'm going to carry across, 8 different units or whatever it might wind up being.
yeah. Even when I'm painting a scheme across an army, I kind of like I don't believe in recipes really. I'm just like close enough is good enough, and 99% of the people who look at your measure won't know that I didn't use the exact same mix. You just can't tell. So, and I like to just add those little flourish colors in just here and there. And those, a lot of times, like I said, it's just like paint with jazz. It's just like I was painting this white, and it was just like kind of came clear, like it needs a blue. Like, so I just grabbed like a little desaturated light blue and just threw it in there, right? And then
Yeah,
it's not on every clone in the same spot, but it's kind of dashed across and treated across the clones, and then that creates a cohesive force because it's more the philosophical elements are all there instead of the applied elements, right? Every gun is this color. Mine's like every gun has these colors randomly placed.
oh sure. Well, that's the thing too, right? It's like it doesn't always have to be like your color choices. It can be like some general effect or approach. Like maybe
Yeah,
I want like fire as a theme, or magma, or ice, or whatever. And you can pick and choose different ways to kind of convey that across a lot of different miniatures in different ways. And I think that's yeah, that's definitely a kind of a cool element to tie a lot of things together,
yeah. That's
like
that's how
glowing eyeballs or whatever you might decide is your stick, like your kind of gimmick. And I always like to plan out and think about that too. It's like, well, what's something that would be like really interesting and cool? Like if I was going to do Wookiees, for example, or if I was going to do like a rebel army, I'm trying to like think about, oh, what would be unique and interesting about them. I've seen like some great ideas, like a winter themed Wookiee army would be super cool. I think you could do something about
like we talked last time. Wookiees on tauntauns. Give it to me.
yeah, that's pretty clutch. I could get into that. But yeah, I kind of like that general theme. So it's like, for the armies that I've worked on recently, like this one is all about Kashyyyk, and it's about using the color green, and it's about like a beach assault. So I'm kind of picking and choosing armies or units in the army that are kind of fit that theme and using that same sort of paint scheme. For my Imperials, it's all about kind of real world military influence and like using colors from kind of modern military and some devices and stuff there. So it's, yeah, I don't know. That's generally how I kind of approach it. Is like I think about like, oh, it's kind of like a unique take or something that could be kind of interesting and fun, and hopefully something that I can kind of learn along the way. Some sort of new thing.
Yeah, I like that. Like it's that last part. Learn along the way. Like what can I do on this that I haven't ever done that's unique and different to me? How can I make this stand out? What can I do that's different, right? Like even with the same color scheme, like even if you're just like my colors are green, red, blue, you can apply those in different ways across different armies and make them feel unique to each other by treating like once again in the contracts, like this is way more philosophical, but it's something to start thinking about even if you're new to painting. Is like if you have cool red or warm red, or cool shadows in the red or warm shadows in the red, right? You can make 2 armies that are primarily red completely different looking, by just taking that time and doing that, right?
Yeah, totally.
Or like this time I'm going to put like little dots of yellow on all the red to show like heat or just,
Like almost like embers or something like that.
yeah,
Yeah, that's cool.
like I did the embers on my Vader over me extravaganza, and like, but then you could do the same thing and just not do the embers and do something totally different and make a different feel, but you're using the exact same colors. It's just your approach.
Yeah, different application of it all.
That's I love that stuff.
Yeah, totally. So what's something that you personally are trying to like work on and you're trying to develop as a skill?
That's a good question. What am I working on? I've been really just focused on speed so much lately.
Yeah. Just efficiently painting things.
Yeah, I love painting really fast.
What's satisfying when you get done with a session and you're like, oh, I finished that thing.
Yeah.
Feels good.
Learning to paint a miniature in an hour.
Yeah, it's a challenge. It is definitely tough. You gotta really have a plan in place, I think. And I think you and Will do a great job of that.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, a lot of that's just like, I mean, for me, a lot of that's just cheating and like, I just kind of know where to put the colors, right? It's just like, it's just color. It's just lying with colors, right? It's just like, I know if I put this light blue here, your eye's going to be drawn there. And I know if I go put this desaturated brown here, your eye's not going to be drawn there. So you're not going to look at it. Haha, tricked you.
Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking about on this guy, I've got kind of a heavy green here. I'm thinking about putting in and glazing in some shadows on the backside in and throughout.
Yeah.
Part of me is thinking, I mean, maybe I go with like a complementary color and I like glaze in red or something, but maybe that's going to be way too stark. What do you think? Should I just like maybe go more of a gray, like a transparent kind of gray?
Or tone the red toward a desaturated purple, so you're playing in that red gray area.
Okay.
I like purple inside green cloaks though. Like,
yeah, it's kind of what I did. I have kind of like a purpley color in underneath here.
You're building in that purples already, so
yeah,
desaturating that, like makes it really nice. Or like you could warm it up because then that's your contrast to that, that green. That green looks pretty cold. Well, no, you got the yellows. So it's warm, so you could go with a cold purple.
Yeah.
So now you're playing with that cold and warm.
Yeah, I'm gonna start to glaze it in here and see how it looks. I think maybe kind of like this kind of color might be kind of good too. It's got kind of like that bluish gray in it. This kind of anthracite. I use it for the rocks quite a bit, so maybe that'll tie in. Give that a shot.
Oh, see, that's another trick, right? It's like tying things into like your basing, like pulling those base colors up into the miniature sneakily.
Yeah, in a subtle way. So it's not always like 100% the same vibrancy or color, but it just has some hints there. Kind of ties it into it makes it more atmospheric, I guess. It kind of like ties it into the environment a little bit more.
I think I would use the word atmospheric. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a bad one. See some questions in the chat about some X-Wing stuff. We'll probably have more information about upcoming releases in the coming weeks. We've got some new stuff that's out on the internet that we'll have more info for you all soon about, but not just yet. As a reminder, this Friday is the release of the Venator and the Pelta for Star Wars Armada, in case you haven't noticed that. And then Rexent will be out on June 4th. Saw some people asking about those on social today.
I just want that squid chip.
Yeah, tried it, man. We just put up another preview today, showing off some of the stuff that comes with it. It comes with a lot of cool characters too. It's definitely really neat. And we're going to do some gameplay streams of that. Comes with some cool scenarios. You can play a solo scenario, like a big kind of Leviathan hunt, where you and multiple friends can all get together and try to fight the thing and it uses like its AI deck. It's definitely really cool. You have to try it out, man. Have you played much X-Wing at all?
I have not.
You have not. It is a fun game. I do like it quite a bit. Yeah, I kind of like how that blue's turning out. I think that's cool. I'm going to shade it down a little bit.
Oh, yeah, that looks good.
Just adds a little bit
what is that? Is that the color on the arm? Yeah, that looks cool.
Yeah, it's got like just a little bit of that. I think I might just increase the shadows back a little bit more, but I'll shade it in here with a little bit of blue. That sounds kind of fun. Kind of like the idea of doing a little bit more atmospheric light on this fellow. And then I'll just have to decide how I want to paint the other one. I think like halfway through the game, when I play the Train in Your Jedi Arts command card, I'll swap the model out. Just to please myself, I think.
Hey, sometimes that's how it works, right? It's like, just this is for me.
My opponent will probably roll his eyes or their eyes, but whatever. It's all about having fun.
I agree. Whatever makes it fun for both players.
Have you given much thought to expanding your force? Like, what would you do next? I know you're still wrapping up what you got, but what inspires you to add next to the army?
I want to tell you right now, the paint job for the studio lat made me super inspired and jealous.
Yeah, it turned out nice. I like
Yeah.
that.
Our boy Brendan painted that up, and like I look inside that cockpit, he's got this magenta and blue glow.
Yeah.
Casting on the clones, and I'm just like, I can do it better. So there's that like I want to just paint one for my force just so I can like take a picture and send it to Brendan and be like, check this out.
Just to rub his face in it.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up like it's all about like that friendly, challenging one another, right?
Yeah, I like that too. It's I think whenever you sit down with your buddies to paint, there's generally like there's a little bit of showmanship that goes on, when you sit down and painting and stuff. And you're like, oh, well, check this out. Oh yeah, well, check this out. And I think that's good. Like it's never. It should never be like, vindictive or dismissive in any sort of way, but it's, it's always intended to kind of push each other, right? Like, why don't you try this new thing or check out this new thing that I'm trying?
If there's one thing,
and sometimes it doesn't turn out, and whatever. But
I want everybody to succeed, and like sometimes it's just about pushing each other to succeed. Way back when I first started, I had a guy at my local game store, and I'd go in, and he'd be like, check this out. He'd show me something painted. I'd be like, ooh, that's so good. And he'd be like, yeah, And then I'd go home. I'd be like, I'm just going to do better than him.
You'll show him?
I'm going to show him. And so I'd go in the next week and be like, check out this. And he'd be like, oh, yeah, wow, dude, that's good. And then he'd come back the next week and be like, okay, so I did this. And you're just pushing each other to like be better.
Yep. I have had similar experiences. Always fun.
Rule number one, if my brush can't reach it, you can't see it. I'm not going to paint the other side of that.
Yeah, I'm having a similar dilemma, trying to get up underneath this cloak. In hindsight, I maybe should have left it separate. This will be the 4th Grievous that I painted, I think. And you think that I would have learned at this point.
That's a lot of Grievous.
I like this mini a lot. He's cool. And some were gifts. I just gave them away to friends and stuff because they like the character quite a bit.
Don't get my kid started on Grievous. My kid will go on a tirade.
Oh yeah, big fan.
Big fan, big fan.
That's cool.
Somebody wound him up yesterday, and it was great. I just walked out of the room because I was just like, I'm out.
It's too much. Has he tried Legion yet?
No,
Cool.
not yet. Okay, I think these panels have to be black. See, this is the part I like. It's like, oh, hello. This is the part I like. It's like, okay, I knew this front plate was black. I knew these were black. And now it's like, okay, so now you gotta start like looking, what do I want black? And like I'm like, this has to be black. I didn't plan on it.
Also remember the guns that are going to go on there too, because that'll also define a lot of the area on either side of the thing.
Yeah, I went ahead and I got those. I pulled those off. I didn't glue those on. Funny thing is, I messed up and I glued them on backwards and had to tear them apart and refix it. So that was terribly stressful. So I do have those. I just blacked out areas of those. So I think that's kind of how I want it. It's like the gun barrel's black, the casing's white. Maybe that inside panel should be black. I'll give it nice contrast.
Yeah, I think something up kind of towards the front too, maybe to kind of balance it out. Like maybe some, like small panels. Like you have like those other like little tow cables or something. What are those little circular details? Maybe those things got picked if they got picked out.
I want to pick out all the tow cables black because those would be metaled. But I'm thinking like this whole, like this panel line right here, John.
Yeah.
All that forward is just black, I think.
Yeah, I like that. I think it'll kind of push your eye into like the center where the main skull is by having something dark like that, kind of like a letterbox in a movie, you know, like where it kind of like forces your eye. I think that would work. Yep. Sounds solid.
Is my head on screen? Sorry. And I'm going to paint all these like little windows, glowy.
You going to do kind of like the turquoise thing you did on the visors for your clones?
Yeah, like all the visors are that cyan, the glowy cyan. So
yeah, totally.
So surrounding those in black will make that cyan really pop. I'm always the baddies, Mr. Davenport. I'm the bad guy. Duh.
I gravitate towards the bad guys too. They have the coolest stuff.
I got clones. When we were picking the 4 armies for Gavin Forces, I took clones. But there was a moment where I thought I was going to get Empire, and I was like, I'm down with Empire too. Like, I'm ready to do Empire. Like, it's going to be nothing but ATSTs, but hey.
Nothing wrong with that. That's like my favorite thing. All right, Dallas, favorite Star Wars movie?
Favorite Star Wars movie?
Yep.
Like just favorite Star Wars movie?
Yeah, sure. Or which, it doesn't have to be your favorite, but which one do you like a lot? Which one do you like?
Which one can I just throw on any time and just watch it?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm probably just Empire.
Yeah, it's definitely a solid one. For me, it's Return of the Jedi, because not to date myself too much, but I saw that in the theaters, and that like changed my life when I was a little kid. Super excited about it, and it has like all the stuff that I love, like the most about Star Wars. It's got speeder bikes, it's got ATSTs, it's got Jabba.
Speeder bikes are dope.
It's got Jedi Luke in it.
Not to date myself too much, but apparently, according to my parents, I saw Star Wars in the theater as well, but I don't remember it.
Oh yeah.
Like New Hope.
Oh man.
Grim Wolf UK says, Daz, I took your list from this. You posted it and then did an 800-point version, including 2 ATRTs and an Arc Strike team.
Added 2 ATRTs, and another arc strike. Okay, that sounds pretty solid.
I would definitely like the very first thing I would paint is a lat. I love that lat.
Oh, that miniature is so cool. I am all about that thing too.
So like going up to 800 points, that's like I can't remember what's the point, but lat 100. So I still have a little bit, and going up to 800, you have to add another core.
Yeah, you're gonna need at least 3 core choices. Yep.
So I'd have to add another core and the lat, and then maybe I got room for Rex. Maybe.
Well, another core choice will probably be like 80 points. The lat is probably like with some upgrades, like a 140-ish, kind of depending on what you want to do with it. And then Rex, I think, is 90, so 140. Yeah, you might be able to squeeze it in. You might need to shave a few points around here and there, but
I can probably save points.
I think Rex would be good for you too because he'll give you some more command cards to play with, like one of those kind of cheap commander or operative options, like Padme or Rex would be a solid addition, I think, to just diversify what you can do in the command phase.
Well, plus he's painted, so boom.
And boom, yep. You also want to do that. Definitely get some games in with the painted stuff. Speaking of painted stuff, we've got some stuff from Gathering Forces. Maybe we want to talk about some of those minis.
Oh, check out that marketing! Like
I know, man. I'm dialing up the segues this week. I've been doing it. All right. So the first one we got here, obviously some sweet Mandalorian color schemes. I like the diversity that's going on here. I like the nod to Boba Fett. I really like the helmet markings quite a bit. And I think that even though the unit is very diverse in coloration, having the bases kind of tying it all in together, the black visors, the little elements there that all makes them look like a bunch of individuals fighting together, I think.
I agree. I think the white pulls, like especially because you have that like a lot of white on the flying Mandalorian, and then the purple Mandalorian has a lot of white. They have less white on the blue Mandalorian. Then you get into like that boba color, but there's still a little bit of white. And you have the bases, ties it all together, and it looks like a unique little collection of fighting forces. I like it.
Yeah. I think if I did some Mandalorians, I would probably paint them in a similar way. I just super inspired by the Mandalorian and like the tribe and stuff in there. I saw somebody noting that in the Gavinport was talking about that.
Yep.
And just like, to me, Mandalorians are like so individualized. I like to see them in kind of like their own personal heraldry, I guess you'd call it, or their own kind of color schemes and their own individual suits of armor. I think that's just a really cool aspect of some Mandalorians that you see, especially like cool. Later on. Cool. What's the next one? What else we got?
Yeah, this is Pain.
My boy.
By Gentle Mind.
I think that the paint work on here is super sharp. It's the edge highlights are really tidy. Like again, the contrast I think is really well, and it's not like that same level of contrast is boosted across the entire mini. Like I like that, like the leathers are like don't go up quite as much, but like little elements like the grays and like that strap that goes around the chest goes all the way up to white. It really makes it kind of pop, and it adds like a little bit of cool depth to it. Super nice Cad Bane. I like that one quite a bit.
And this is this shows like a really great trick that we've been talking about the whole stream. Actually, is like he has, they have 3 different types of leather here, and one of them is a very warm orangey brown. So like the coat, the hat is a very warm orangey brown, and then the trousers or the over trousers is a red brown. And then the trousers and undershirt is a very desaturated cold brown. And like by having all those different leathers and choosing the spots for them, I think that the choices on the spots really works well, because like that undershirt pushes back because it's dark, which means it pushes that orange brown forward to the eye, makes the jacket, which has the silhouette of the miniature more readable. Like that's a very smart choice there for color and contrast.
Yeah. I like the choice of purple too on like the greaves and the bracers.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of a cool. It's using a little bit of color theory there. It's got some complementary action because you got a lot of yellows and a lot of those leathers.
Yep, that desaturated gray purple playing against that warm orangey, like that. A lot of great color theory actually here.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess that's one thing. It's like when you're talking about complementary colors, it's not always about like football teams. It's not always like saturated, super bright yellow versus super bright purple or something like that. It's sometimes the subtly you can still get the contrast that you want.
Yep.
And look classy.
Now we got Pinky McPaint.
Pinky McPaint. This one is this is cool because Pinky McPaint also posted a bunch of tutorials on how to paint these paint schemes. So if you check them out on Instagram, use the Gathering Forces hashtag. You can sort through it and you can find it. And they did a bunch of instructional stuff on Instagram, which I thought was really cool and really nice. But I think it's kind of interesting to see these two side by side and see, just like a subtle tweak in one little element, like a little bit more of a tan on the pouches and some of the straps, and a little bit more of blue in the actual armor color. How it can really kind of change things in an interesting way.
Yeah, I agree. Like you got the amber or ochre like pouches and the green, and then the other's got and then he's like got no snow in the base, but then you got the blue visor with lost snow and none of those warm colors. It makes it feel colder. It makes it feel frosty. It makes and that little bit of blue in there, like you just get different emotions out of both these, same miniature, right? It's the same miniature. So this is great. I love these.
Yeah, I like that too. I thought it was just kind of a cool contrast and a cool side-by-side comparison. Again, I'm like a big fan of variations on a theme. So yeah, we've got 3 more of them that we will share with you all on Friday when Will Schick and Michael Plummer do their session on Friday. We kind of switched up the days a little bit. Normally I stream on Fridays, but worked out better for Will to do it on Friday this week. So we'll still be accepting more entries for Gathering Forces throughout the end of the month, and we'll take a look at the last batch of them on Monday, the 31st. I think we're also going to be, taking photographs of all our finished forces. We'll make sure to post those up on social so you all can see what the finished product looks like for all of our Gathering Forces. And we'll hopefully get these on the tabletop soon too, so you can see them in action, see all the terrible decisions we made in list building.
We're gonna have fun.
Yeah, that's all that really matters. I'm not too worried about it. I'm excited to have Grievous run up there and put the chop on somebody. Hopefully that'll happen.
Yeah, maybe Plummer's Luke.
Oh, see, that's the duel. That's what I want.
I can hear the music in my head now.
I just have to wait until after Plummer plays the Son of Skywalker card, because I don't fancy Grievous's chances if he has to face 2 rounds of Luke attacking him. I don't think that's going to end very well, but you never know. Maybe the dice will be with me.
Put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah, maybe so.
Maybe may the dice be with you.
We're also wrapping up the monthly challenge that we have going on right now. So we've got My Star Wars Legion. We got corpse units happening this month, so we'll be collecting all those on Monday as well. Just as a heads up, relevant to what you're working on, Dallas, June is going to be all about heavy units. So we just released the AA5 and the LAT last week. So it's a perfect opportunity for you to get those new releases painted, or just paint any sort of heavy choice that you want for any of your existing Legion forces. I'm very excited to see that. I've already seen people doing amazing stuff with their LATs and their AA5s. They look very, very cool.
I don't have a reason to paint an AA5 because I don't have a Rebel Force, but man, I want to paint an AA5.
You can also just use it for scenery too, right? Like you can just have it like parked somewhere, just take it off the base or take the gun off or whatever. I think it would fit in pretty well as something on the civilian streets.
Oh, a crashed AA5. I'm in.
Yeah, I could also do that too. I've been seeing some really, really inspired work with LEDs, and I'm thinking about, we're talking about trying new things. Lighting on miniatures is something I don't really have a lot of experience with. I would not call myself a electrician in any way. So I think that's going to be something I'm going to try to challenge myself with over the month of June, is to finish up my lat and put some lights in it.
Oh, that'd be really cool.
I think red cockpit lights seems to be like the direction I'm currently thinking.
Oh, like the helicopter Predator.
Yeah, totally. But I could skew it in a weird way. I could do like kind of a weird purple or something. Maybe it's going to look too much like a dance party in there. But I'll mess with it. I feel like LEDs can be like any color these days. You can even get them to like color change and shift, I think. Got to do some research. But that sounds like a fun thing to experiment with.
Someone asked if I can show my Rex. My Rex is just a simple ARC trooper. Hang on, let me zoom in on it. Ooh. That's dangerous.
Watch out now. There you go. Now he's in focus.
So it's just an ARC trooper that I'm just going to use as Rex. Painted up in my color scheme. See, he's got his little skull teeths. He's got little nicks and scratches on his helmet. He's got little glowy Wii stars.
Yeah, that's cool.
Little glowy backpack. I love those little dots turned to glow.
Yeah, I like that. I think I got a little bit of time over the weekend. This is kind of like the last miniature that I need to do. So I think I'm going to spend a little time and go back into all the stuff that I have, because I love that little extra level of detail that kind of weathering can provide.
Yeah.
I think it'll be fun to just use it kind of sparingly here and there. Just add a little bit more dimension and tell a little bit more story in some of these minis.
Yeah, it really doesn't take much, and you can get like a really lovely effect by just adding like little hints, like that's, and it goes back to what we've been talking about the whole time, right? It's like just little hints of warmth and or cold to different areas of miniature can help you tell a better story and get a more visually interesting paint job. And it doesn't take a lot of work. It doesn't have to be precise. Like up close, all my little clones are just like little beams and ticks and smudges of color just here and there, but it makes it more visually interesting, especially for something like white. Like talked before, white is just all colors coming back to the eye at once. So like by adding those little hints of color, you get this really lovely white that reads really, really well.
Yeah. Do you one thing I kind of struggle with sometimes when I'm doing like battle damage and stuff is really trying to make it look random and like different in scale and size.
Oh, dude.
Isn't that tricky? Like, do you have any sort of like any advice for like trying to like maybe holding your brush more loosely and just being kind of like more loose with it to try to get those kind of random effects? Or do you got any secret sauce?
Secret sauce. So like that's a funny thing, right? It's like the human brain, like we want to organize stuff.
Yeah, right.
Right. We love to organize every bloody thing that ever existed ever. Like that's why we have to have a movie list of the best movie and the worst movie ever made. And
sure.
No movie can just be okay and enjoyable. It has to be the best or the worst because my brain organizes it that way.
Right.
So for me, I don't throw away brushes. I have a ridiculous collection of 30 years of brushes sitting around. And sometimes you find like the perfect brush. Like this is my brush I used to like get paint out of pot. But
It's like a stippling brush that's just like real frayed and random and just helps keep your marks random.
Turn it around and like you gotta kind of train to teach yourself to not be organized, like, which is weird. Like, so I practiced on paper, I practiced on plastic card, you practice on miniatures and you mess it up sometimes. But like it's training yourself to like not think in organized patterns, or I guess it's more like reminding yourself that you're trying to be organized and then not being.
Sure.
And then switching up. I do a lot of switching up. So I'll start with a brush with some weathering, and then I'll immediately pull that out, and then I'll switch to like a sponge, right?
And just change up the tools that you're using to try to
change up the tools. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. I'll give that a shot. I think the sponge is, it's kind of my weapon of choice for a lot of that, but sometimes it's too big to get in there and keep it subtle. And sometimes you wind up stamping similar patterns and things. So I think I like that idea of like switching back and forth and not just using one tool to try to get the job done.
When I like for a studio miniature, a lot of times I'll start with like a stipple brush and a sponge, but then I go in with a paintbrush and then I purposefully reapply lines to create more randomness. So like I look at what the pattern that was created by the sponge or the brush, the stipple brush, and then I re-accentuate it with a regular brush. So like it's almost like you're like shaping and forming the effect. And then for like really tiny places, like you were saying, like sometimes the brush is too big. I've definitely done and I'm sure you have as well, like you cut like, let me see if I have it. You have a pair of like hemostats?
What's that?
You have a pair of hemostats?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Like locking these little lockers, they lock up.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Kind of
like a lot of times I'll pull like the tiniest little bit of foam.
And use that to sponge on?
Yeah, I lock that.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Lock that in there, and now I can get into those little tiny spaces, and then always be turning it, like always.
Yeah, turn it in your fingers.
Yep. You know.
I know what's up. Dallas, we're drawing to a close.
No.
We've only got a few more minutes left.
I did not paint this miniature in an hour.
Well, I would be very surprised if you could knock out a saber tank in an hour. I think it can be done, but I think it would be a challenge. And I think you would have to be like hyper focused.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound super fun to me. I would rather just do it at a more leisurely pace.
Yeah, I'm not rushing this by any means.
No, well, that's like the main cornerstone of your army, right? Like that's the whole reason for the clone.
This is it. This is exactly
all about that tank. Have you named it yet? Have you decided on a name?
No.
Seems like every tank needs a name, man.
Somebody needs to name my tank.
You could use like a sabacc term. Some of them are weird though. There's like Idiot's Array, and yeah, I don't think you want to call your tank Idiot's Array necessarily.
I used to have a dog named Reject.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's not off-brand. But
could perhaps work.
He was not a reject. I just thought it was a fun name for him. He was actually a really smart hunting dog.
Nice.
Greg the Tank.
Oh, Greg.
Somebody named my commander Jinx. So
yeah, Jinx is a good name. I like that one. I'm halfway jealous and wish that I would have brought a generic commander just so I could have Chet name it. But I guess they named my tactical droid a while ago.
Yeah, you got Taco the tactical droid.
Yeah, that's right. 24CO, man. He's going to get up in this mix. Somebody pointed out very accurately that I cannot use the command card I wanted to with my current force because I do not have a droid commander. That's that orbital bombardment. And I really want to play with that card, so I'm definitely going to start to factor that guy in there. That, or I need to take a tank and make it a field commander, which is another option.
The city of Seattle had a vote to name one of the street sweepers, and the vote that won was OK Broomer.
OK Broomer? Oh, man. It seems like it's maybe the voting was from a certain demographic.
It's true.
Like largely. Seems like a certain age group, maybe.
You gotta be careful with these community name votes.
True. It can be skewed in weird ways. I trust our community, though. I think they're good. They got our best interests in mind, don't they? Or whatever is going to get the most laughs. Also an option. But it's 4 o'clock, Dallas.
4 o'clock. It's 2 o'clock.
Well, 2 o'clock for you, but it's 4 o'clock for me. And I fear that is the end of this week's Wednesday session of Atomic Math Transmissions Live.
Oh, I'm just going to keep paying this panel while you take us out, John.
You do it, man. Tomorrow, Dallas will be back with Will Schick. They're going to be painting some cool stuff for Marvel Crisis Protocol, continuing to work on their new rosters of community voted on miniatures. And then on Friday, it's going to be Will Schick and Michael Plummer wrapping up their Gathering Forces week 4. So we've got a lot more hobby planned for the rest of the week. Thank you all for joining us. We had a great time working on all this stuff. And we look forward to sharing with you all the final miniatures and then getting these things on the tabletop, playing some games.
The fruits of our labor.
The fruits of our labor. Time where we can just roll dice and laugh about it all.
Soon enough.
Yeah, sounds great. Well, thanks again, everybody, for joining us. And we'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody. Catch you later. Time to go and do other work. I can't paint all day, though I wish I